Hi guys, I'm Mikey, you're watching The Daily Trans, and I'm finally doing my video on a Saturday. Snaps for me! Alright, so today we are discussing the T word. I'm going to say it once and then I'm going to use the phrase the T word for the rest of the segment, whatever this is video. We're talking about the word tranny, which a lot of people have a lot of problems with, so I am going to give my 2 cents. I do not regularly use the word. I think probably the only times I use it is if I am, making fun of transphobes, or if I was talking about transphobes and it would be in that context. It's not a word that I personally identify with, and it's not a word that I would use to describe other trans people. My understanding of the word is that it has a massive root in very fetishizing porn, mostly involving trans women, and that it's kind of quite objectifying because it's all about the fact that they're trans and not about the fact that they're a woman, and they're represented as being trans rather than represented as being a woman. And so from that point of view, it's quite a problematic word to just be, throwing around. I know there are, on the flip side, a lot of people who identify with it. I know a lot of trans guys. In fact, I know many more trans guys than trans girls who identify with the word. And I think that probably says something about it, specifically that if there are so many trans men that have no problem identifying with it, and then there are so few trans women, there's probably a reason for that. I think identity is kind of a really awkward thing because you can't really go up to someone and say, you're not allowed to identify as this. The best thing you can do is kind of try and educate them on what they're actually identifying with and whether or not that identity actually does fit them. So in the case of identifying with the T word, it's a word that has not really been used historically to describe trans men. And yeah, I know there are trans guys that have had it used against them. I've had it used against me many times. But the difference is that having a word individually used against you is different to having that word used en masse, in pop culture, in porn, in the classroom, on the street, as a way of making you feel ugly or unacceptable or oppressed or objectified. So even if someone has had that word used against them, it's not necessarily comparable to what trans women have gone through. In terms of self-identifying, I would just say this. If you identify with that word, and that is truly the only way you think you can describe your identity, and you think that that fits you better than anything else, then go ahead and use it. But if someone asks you to stop using it, respect their boundaries, especially if they're a trans woman. If someone is not okay with you using that word because it's oppressive, and because it has a history in oppression, and because it is not actually used to oppress you as a minority, even though it might have been used to oppress you personally, then just do them a favor and don't use it around. At least respect what some people are and aren't comfortable with. So in short, that is my kind of 2 cents on the topic. I am never ever going to tell someone what they should and shouldn't identify with, because I think that that's not okay to do. But I do think it's important to take into account the history of the words that you're using and the connotations of the words that you're using, and to make sure that they actually do apply to you personally, and that you're not kind of using these words without a proper understanding, personal as well as intellectual understanding, of how they've been used before and the negative ways in which they have been used. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in a week.